We got some new reports regarding EA Sports College Football 25, so we are going to go over those today in this video. Now, all of this information is coming from Mike Straw of Insider Gaming. He is a senior editor over there at Insider Gaming, and he's been reporting on College Football 25 for several weeks now, and he's been accurate in everything he's been saying, so he seems like a pretty accurate and legit source. He's talked to people over in EA. So while I wouldn't say this stuff is 100% confirmed, this stuff definitely has validity to it. So he went live on Twitch the other day and just talked about College Football 25 and everything he knew about the game and answered a bunch of people's questions. So we're going to talk about all the big info that he mentioned in his live stream. Mike Straw was actually shown one clip of gameplay from College Football 25 from his source. So he said it was just one play that he saw and then a few replays of that play. And the clip was Army running the option, and he said the option is a very big focus in this game. He said it is a major deal. So it sounds like EA is putting a lot of time and effort into making the option offense actually playable and realistic. Like, the option offense is probably one of the more complicated things they have to put in the game, where you have to make a read, you have to make the correct read, it has to run smoothly, and it sounds like EA worked hard to have a good option offense simulation in this game. And he even said that the option may be OP, so hopefully that's not the case. We definitely don't want anything being OP, but it sounds like it is a major focus for EA in this game. And I'm assuming that doesn't just mean like the wishbone and what Army and all the service academy schools run. I'm assuming that also means like the RPO, because that's such a major focus in modern college football, is the RPO, spreading out the offense. The quarterback can either, hand it off, make that quick slant, and the offense runs through that basically. So hopefully when he's saying that the option offense is a major deal, hopefully that also applies to the RPO and not just the wishbone. Now, the next thing he talked about is the noticeable difference between higher rated players and lower rated players. So essentially, like, you're going to be able to easily tell the difference between a 95 overall player and a 75 overall player. And it's going to be more complex than just, the 95 overall player catches the ball more often than the 75 overall player. He said that they're physically going to play different. And this applies to recruits. So a 5-star recruit is going to be noticeably different than a 2-star recruit. Now, I had a lot of people saying like, does this mean like a 2-star recruit can't be a gem or a 5-star recruit can't be a bust? No, those things still apply. But in general, like, a 5-star player is going to be noticeably different and better and physically play different, he said, than a 2-star player. Which leads into another point he made. He said power schools will be a lot harder to play against than the smaller schools, which is obviously a good thing. That's very realistic, and it makes sense because if the higher rated players physically play different than the lower rated players, and a power school is made up of more higher rated players, then they're going to be a lot harder to play against, a lot harder to beat than smaller schools. Which again is like, duh, but I think the way he was explaining it is it's more than just, this team is better. Like, there's a more immersive, complex detail there that we're going to have to wait and see once we get our hands on the game. He also talked a good bit about the new wear and tear system that's coming to College Football 25. It sounds very interesting. So substitutions is going to be a massive deal in this game, primarily because of the wear and tear system. He was explaining that fatigue and conditioning and stamina are going to be really important, and you're going to have to manage the substitutions in game to ensure your team is performing at a high level. He kept referencing, like, if a player racks off a 75-yard run right off the bat in the game, that guy's probably going to need some rest, because if you try to immediately feed him the ball again, he might make a mistake. And I assume like the higher rated player you are, the more stamina you have and the longer it takes for you to get fatigued, and you don't need to get subbed out as much. But the new wear and tear and substitution systems sound really cool in my opinion, because that is also a large part of modern college football. The game is so fast-paced with these spread offenses that they are constantly moving people on and off the field, getting guys that are hydrated onto the field, and then obviously the defense is allowed to substitute, so they're doing the same thing. And so substituting in college football is massive, and it sounds like EA is really working hard to implement that into this video game. Speed in general just sounded important. This game is going to be a lot faster than Madden, and it's going to feel different than Madden. And I think the biggest reason it's going to feel different than Madden is because he said this is the first true current gen football game from EA, which is absolutely right, because Madden, although they've been making it for several years, obviously, it's been released on current gen and last gen, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, PS4, PS5. This is the first football game they're exclusively making on current gen, Series X, and PS5, which is a great thing in my opinion. I know it sucks for people that haven't upgraded yet, but this game isn't going to be held back by last gen now. So theoretically, this should be the best playing football game and the best looking football game that EA has ever made. Another reason it'll be different from Madden that Mike said was that they have a ton of new animations specifically for this game. And he specifically mentioned catch animations. He said there's a lot of new catch animations for College Football 25 that you won't see in Madden. Now, he did also say some of the animations cross over from Madden. He said the tackle animation looked like a Madden tackle, which should be completely expected. I know some people literally want Madden to have nothing to do with this game, which so do I, but you're fooling yourself if you think there's not going to be some sort of crossover between the two. There's definitely going to be animations that are in both games, and that's how it was back in the day in 2010, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Some of the animations were in both video games. He also said there's going to be plenty of pre-game animations. So when the team's running out onto the field that we saw in the trailer, that's one of those new pre-game animations that we'll probably see, but I'm also hoping he means like stretching and warming up. We used to see that back in like 2004, 2005, 2006. They eventually took it out. I don't know why, because it was a great little feature that made the game seem more realistic and got you excited to play the game. So hopefully we can see the return of pre-game warm-ups. Another animation that sounds cool is that he said there's a lot of different reactions in the crowd. So if you look up in the crowd, it's not going to just be everyone doing the exact same thing. You can see different animations from different people in the crowd. Maybe that's high-fiving, maybe that's swinging a towel, but they'll be doing different things, which again adds to the realism. And the last thing he talked about that should really differentiate this game from Madden is the equipment options. He said there's going to be a lot more equipment options than Madden, because in Madden, the NFL says, hey, we don't allow them to wear that in real life, so we're not going to allow them to wear it in the video game either, which makes sense. But in this case, there is no Madden, there is no NFL, there is no even NCAA. So they can put basically whatever equipment they want in the game as long as the schools don't have an issue with it. And we already saw that in the reveal trailer with the crop top jerseys, the back plate hanging out, the pants above the knees. It looks awesome, and these are all things that are going to be in this video game that we haven't seen before. Another big point for Mike was that this game is not just some foundation game that they're throwing out here to build for the future for like CFB 26 and 27. No, this is a full fleshed out game that they are creating for College Football 25. So he said he's been repeatedly told that recruiting in Dynasty mode is super deep. It's deeper than previous games, which is obviously vague. But he also mentioned that Dynasty and Road to Glory both have high replay value, that they put in a lot of effort in how the offseason and recruiting works in Dynasty. Like I just said, that it's going to be super deep. But obviously, high replay value is very good. You don't want to play once through Road to Glory and then you don't want to ever touch it again. You want to create multiple guys and just keep playing over and over because it's fun. Same thing with Dynasty mode. And in Road to Glory, he talked about how there's a big off-field component, something to do with NIL and your image in general. So it doesn't just sound like you're trying to become a star on the field, but also off the field. And that could be good or bad depending how EA does that, so we'll have to see. Now here's a big one. He said that Teambuilder is going to be basic, but enough to keep people happy. So I'm wondering if that means it's not as detailed as the Teambuilder we had for like NCAA 14, but it should obviously be better than like Creative School from 2006. And EA already confirmed on their blog post that you can upload your own logos. There's a community tab where you can download other schools. So that seems pretty good to me. I think, like he said, people will be happy. This shouldn't be an issue. And he said he heard that the plan is to launch Teambuilder the first week of July. So a lot of y'all have been asking me, are they going to release Teambuilder before the game actually releases? And it sounds like yes. Hopefully we'll get that a couple weeks before the game releases the first week of July. Another random thing, but he said that there are going to be custom playbooks in the game, which is obviously a fat dub. But I think that hits on all the good things, I would say, the positive things. Now there also are some negative things. Like he said, Mascot mashup is probably not in this game. He assumed it's not in the game. He hasn't really heard anything about it. So I guess that leaves the door open for it to be in the game, but from what he's hearing, it's not in the game, which obviously sucks. That's a fan favorite. I would love to see that in CFB 25. Another disappointing one is that there is not a full ESPN license in this game, apparently. It essentially sounds like EA worked a deal to get the commentators like Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit, but there's not going to be an ESPN presentation. There's also not going to be College Gameday, which really sucks because everything we've heard before this is that College Gameday is in the game. So some people are saying there's going to be like a generic pregame show that's basically like Gameday, but it's not, branded as College Gameday, which is possible. But according to Mike Straw, there's no ESPN presentation, no College Gameday in College Football 25. Now, I think this was the last big thing that he touched on, and again, it's disappointing in my opinion. He said we cannot expand the playoff. So we know the 12-team playoff is going to be in the game. It sounds like we can't do more than 12 teams, which is really disappointing. I was hoping we could do 16, 24 like the FCS, even 64 like March Madness. I don't know why we wouldn't be able to do that. He didn't say we couldn't shrink it though, so maybe we can do less than 12. I'm assuming at least the 14 playoff and the 12-team playoff are both in this game, because when they were first making this game, the 14 playoff is what was in place, and then they jumped up to 12, obviously, for this upcoming college football season. He also mentioned there will be no BCS calculations, which makes sense because the BCS doesn't exist anymore, but I was still hoping we could do like a 2-team playoff, or just like at the end of the year, the 2 teams go to the Natty, like the BCS style, even if it doesn't actually have the BCS calculations. But we'll have to see if that's in the game. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if it's only the 4 and the 12-team playoffs. Now to finish this video, just rapid fire and a couple other notes I made. There's no 7-on-7 mode. There is up to 6 players online can play. That's not talking about online Dynasty. That's like talking about play now. There is going to be a ticker on the bottom of the screen. So that's like the thing underneath the scoreboard that scrolls through other scores, other games going on. And then lastly, he said the blocking animation maybe has some tuning issues with like the feet sliding, looked a little weird. So that'll be something to watch out for. Hopefully that's not an issue. But I think that hits on basically everything that Mike Straw talked about for this video game. A lot of good information, also some disappointing things. Overall, I think this game is going to be banger. I really do like the idea that this game is going to be unique from Madden. Again, we'll have to wait and see, but definitely follow me on Instagram at BringNCAA Back. I post everything there first, and then subscribe here on YouTube to stay updated about this game.